Breaking up is never easy, but saying goodbye to your old clunky work tools? Well, that's easy. Just repeat after me. It's not me, it's definitely you. You rigid, unfriendly software. It's time to freshen things up with Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use. With stunning dashboards, customizable templates, and built-in AI that actually works, switching to a new work platform has never felt this good. So move on to Monday.com.
Welcome to No One Told Us, the podcast that tells the truth about parenting and talks about all the stuff you wish you knew before having kids. I'm your host, Rachael, and I'm so excited for today's special episode with Deedee Moore. When Deedee found out she was going to be a grandmother, she searched the internet for advice on establishing a strong relationship with her grandchildren. Wow, we love that. When she couldn't find a website that offered what she was looking for, she decided to start one herself. So Deedee founded More Than Grand, and this is a way that she shares inspiration and resources for grandparents and grandparents-to-be so that they can understand the importance of their new role. On her website and social media, Deedee creates a bridge from parent to grandparent and covers topics that help new parents understand trends in childcare and gives meaningful ways to help people connect with their grandchildren. So I'm so excited for this conversation. As I was talking to you before we started recording, I have done an episode on this topic once before, but it was with my own parents, which is a little bit different.
Sure.
So, I mean, my parents are great, but you can't ask all the questions you might want to, right? So I'm really excited to have you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you and provide some conversation for your listeners.
Absolutely. So how old are your grandchildren now?
They are now 5, almost 7, and almost 9.
Oh, wow. Okay. So similar ages to my own kids. So I love that you decided to just create something from nothing when you couldn't find the types of resources you were looking for. So first of all, I am so curious because I think it just takes so much foresight and just emotional intelligence to even start looking for something like that. So I'm curious what pushed you to even look for something like that? Did you have really close relationships with your kids when they were growing up? Did you have close relationships with your own grandparents? What was it that inspired you to look?
I think it was just that I come from a family that we really all get along. We really like to be with each other. We like to support one another. And I was just really surprised that there wasn't a resource out there for moving into this really important role, right? I mean, grandparenting, any grandparent will tell you it's one of the most important, most fulfilling things they've ever done. And yet, it's a role nobody prepares for. We just assume we can do it.
It's so true. I know. I think the only things that I asked my parents to do to prepare for becoming grandparents was like taking a CPR course, which is important too, but it's such a different thing. There are so many dynamics that come up that you just are not prepared for. So I guess I'm curious what people come to you struggling with or wondering about the most. What are kind of the biggest issues that you see?
So I have a lot of parents that come to me saying, how can I get the grandparents to understand? And it's always the same things. It's too many gifts. It's not respecting boundaries around food and sleep and screen time. And it's giving unwanted advice, right? Those are the things that I think universally parents struggle with grandparents.
Yeah, I would say that tracks for me as well. I mean, I am very lucky with my parents and grandparents. My parents don't live here, so it's a little more, I allow the spoiling a little bit more when we do get to see them because I know that they live for those few weeks. So I try to, remember that. And then my in-laws are pretty respectful with our boundaries. So it doesn't come up much, even though they live in the same city and they're so helpful for us that, again, I am I would never say anything because they help us out so much. But I do see those themes come up so much with listeners and followers of my Instagram. And you spoke to a couple of things that I have definitely experienced as well. So I guess my question is, what do you think the grandparent perspective is when it comes to, let's just talk about the spoiling thing first, right? Because that I think comes from probably a good place, too many gifts, wanting to indulge them with sweet treats, wanting to give them screen time, wanting to just give into everything. What is I think from the parent perspective, we see it as you don't respect my boundaries. I said no. Why aren't you listening to me? But the grandparent is probably well, we just want to love them and give them what they want, right? So does it come from a good place or is it really just them steamrolling our boundaries?
It really does come from a good place. And it also comes from a place of the messages out there for grandparents. What do you see? You see the signs with grandchildren spoiled here. You see we spoil them and send them home. What happens at grandma's stays at grandma's. Grandma's house, grandma's rules. Those are the messages that are out there about grandparenting. And the more you hear a message, whether it's true or not, it sinks into your brain. I mean, just like any misinformation, right? If you see it often enough, you start to believe it and act on it as if it's truth. So it's very hard for a grandparent to recognize, it's not always very hard, but it's very hard for some people to recognize that those are really destructive messages, right? Those are really not the way we should be approaching grandparenting. And yet, we have more time on our hands. We probably have more money than when our kids were little. The retailers are out there, providing us with all sorts of wonderful things to buy our grandchildren at every turn. I mean, there's stores that I literally call grandma stores because you can see that they are just stocked with things to buy for your grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to buck what society is telling you to do.
That makes total sense. Yeah, I can even see it like my mom, she's retired. She's not working. She has all the time in the world to just look up things online that my kids might like or go shopping. And it's hard when you show your love that way, it's hard to stop. But I guess, what would you tell listeners who are struggling with this particular problem? Like, maybe what are some alternatives to buying a bunch of stuff when it comes to grandchildren? And, you of course just want to show your love. It like you said, it comes from a good place, but what are some ways you could do that without filling our houses with crap that we don't need?
No, seriously. I got all that crap too, just to let you know. I mean, this is a perennial problem. This is not something brand new.
Right.
But I do think that for grandparents, our ultimate goal is to create that relationship, right? Mm-hmm. It is to create a relationship where our grandchildren want to spend time with us. The gifts aren't going to do that, right? And the more parents can show grandparents that, let's, instead of buying that thing, how about if you and Junior go and take a bike ride to the park, do things together. For grandparents that live far away, it's harder because you especially want to, lavish them with things and love in that time that you're there. But, letters to them are so much more valuable. Sending them a card in the mail is, something that a child gets. They get just as excited by a piece of mail as they do about a toy. So take the time to write that letter.
It's so
and
true.
Parents can help out by, sending a box of cards to the grandparent and say, hey, how about sending one of these to, Lila every week and see what that does.
That's such a great idea. It's so funny you mentioned letters too, because my dad last week sent each of my kids a 10-page letter, including 2 that can't read. Yeah, they're too small. But they were so excited and they immediately wanted to write back and send them a letter back and write pictures for them to send through the mail. So it's going to be their new little thing. And it was, like you said, they were so much more excited actually than they've ever been about a toy that my parents have brought. They were just thrilled. It was so, so cute.
Yeah, it's amazing, the power of the written word. And we forget that sometimes when we can so immediately get in touch with our grandchildren, with FaceTime and sending messages and whatever else. We forget how important those letters can be. That's
so, so true. I love that. And one thing that my mother-in-law here does, I mean, she lives literally 10 minutes from us, but one thing that she does that my kids also get really excited about that doesn't add to the clutter in our house is she was a librarian. So she always has a stack of new books for them when they go to her house, or she'll, pop over with a stack of books. And I am always you can always buy books. You can always check books out from the library. We can never have too many books. So that's one thing that I'll never stop. So maybe books would be another thing, if you really just can't help yourself from going out and getting physical things.
And that's something my daughter-in-law was a librarian, so books are very welcome in their home as well. And my grandkids get a lot of books.
Perfect. I love that. We're going to take one quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the deeper things beyond gift giving with grandparents. We'll be right back. If there's one piece of advice I could give to new parents, it's to make your life as easy as possible. And one of the ways that I have liked to do that for the last several years since I became a mom is by using Thrive Market. Thrive Market is like your favorite health food store, but it's online and it's so much more affordable. And I'm talking premium brands like Primal Kitchen, Siete, Simple Mills. Everything's delivered right to your door and up to 30% less than what you'd pay at traditional stores. Everything that they sell is incredibly high quality and meets really high standards. They ban over 1,000 ingredients. I know lots of people are thinking about things like that right now. You can even filter by diet and preference. So things like gluten-free, low sugar, vegan. So you're not wasting time reading every single label at the grocery stores. I even stock up on some of my wellness favorites and pantry items, toothpaste. I love their diapers. Everything that they have has been so great for our family. I love it because I can get everything my family needs in one place, everything shipped directly to me, so it's one less thing that I have to think about and do throughout the week. You can also skip the junk without overspending if you head to thrivemarket.com/heysleepybaby. You'll get 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift. That's thrivemarket.com/heysleepybaby. thrivemarket.com/heysleepybaby.
Breaking up is never easy, but saying goodbye to your old clunky work tools? Well, that's easy. Just repeat after me. It's not me, it's definitely you. You rigid, unfriendly software. It's time to freshen things up with Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use. With stunning dashboards, customizable templates, and built-in AI that actually works, switching to a new work platform has never felt this good. So move on to Monday.com.
We have talked a little bit about, grandparents being involved in, the way of giving gifts and wanting to send things and spoil, quote unquote, their grandkids. What about grandparents showing support in other ways? So I think one thing that a lot of millennial parents struggle with is actually really wanting, like we were talking about setting boundaries, right? But a lot of us really do want our parents and our in-laws to be involved and to help us. And we're finding that there is resistance for whatever reason. What is your experience working with families around that? Like, what do you think those miscommunications are? Like, we want you to be involved. We want you to help us. Why aren't you helping us in the way that we always thought that you might or dreamed that you might?
Right. I hear that too. And it's very hard. And one of the things, for grandparents, a lot of us, a big difference between grandparents now and grandparents, 30 years ago is that more of the grandmothers today were working women. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So parents today saw their grandparents helping out a lot, but those grandmothers had not had a career, had not spent their lives working.
True.
They're not as tired as today's grandparents, right?
Right. Like, I guess today's grandparents looked forward their whole lives to their retirement because they'd be free and have all this time. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, so there's that's one of the things. And I think that also, I think parents have kind of a rosy picture of what it used to be like. Maybe you had a really great relationship with your grandparents. Maybe your grandparents were really involved, but it's not new for parents not to have grandparents that are involved. I mean, it's something that's always been true. We didn't have a magical village any more than you guys do.
Right.
And it's something that you have to build yourself if you want it. Now, obviously grandparents are a wonderful place to start and hopefully that can work, but it's only going to work if you approach it as wanting to involve the grandparents in your lives, not coming to them asking for them just for help, right?
Right.
It's got to be a reciprocal relationship.
And I think that's where a lot of the friction that I see comes from is a lot of parents or a lot of grandparents feel used or feel like their kids have this like entitled attitude, like they should just be giving us free babysitting. And the parents feel like, well, these are your grandkids. You should want to spend time with them. You should want to help me. Do you see that that's kind of a misunderstanding and like a miscommunication as well? Absolutely. And it is. It's hard for a parent to
think that their parents don't want to help them out, right? Right?
Yeah.
But again, we are still people with busy lives and many responsibilities. A lot of grandparents are still working. A lot of grandparents are, some of them are still raising kids, right? So there are a lot of responsibilities, and those who have retired have been looking forward to that retirement and the travel or the volunteering or whatever it is they're planning to do. And, as much as they love their grandchildren, they don't want to be responsible for them
full time, right? Like they've already raised their kids.
Exactly.
And I think for us, it's like childcare is more expensive than it ever has been. Cost of living is more expensive than it ever has been. So we just feel so desperate for this support. One thing that I think that has helped me personally, because my mother-in-law has a million hobbies. She's very social. She does tons of volunteer work. Like we have to book her like weeks in advance if we want her to babysit. But one thing that has really helped us is like having dedicated days where like she picks up one of my kids on Mondays. She picks another one of my kids up on Tuesdays, and that's like their special time together. And we kind of frame it like that. Like, yes, of course she's helping us out, but we don't necessarily say I guess it's just the way you frame it, right? Like each kid wants special one-on-one time with her, and we want nothing more than for our kids to have close relationships with their grandparents, right? So it's kind of like a mutually beneficial, I guess that's just how we look at it and how we talk about it. Like it's mutually beneficial. Everybody's kind of getting what they want. She's getting special time with them. They're getting special time with her. We're getting a break and some help. So it's kind of like everybody wins and nobody really feels taken advantage of.
Exactly. And that's what it is. A lot of parents do come to grandparents flat out saying, I really need your help. I really need you to babysit. Why can't you help out more? And you're right. It comes from a place of desperation because childcare is so expensive, so ludicrously out of line with wages that, I feel for parents.
Yeah. And I think too, like one time my husband and my mother-in-law had a conversation and he kind of left that conversation feeling like, oh, we got to like do more with my mom than just ask her for childcare. Like, let's invite her over for brunch this weekend. Let's have her for dinner. Let's like take her out and do something fun. Remembering those things too, so that they don't feel like you're just using them and they don't feel like they're just, a free babysitter. Like they feel like you actually are investing in a relationship with them as well.
Exactly.
So another thing that I was going to ask about this is kind of the opposite, right? So it's like maybe a grandparent really wants to help more and really wants to get involved, but they don't want to overstep, right? So how do you recommend they kind of open that communication to helping more, being more involved, and just letting their children know that they're there for them without, I think a lot of grandparents are worried about being overbearing. And that's that like stereotypical mother-in-law, like, I don't want to be overstepping. I don't want to like do too much. How do you recommend they handle that?
Communication. That is the way you handle anything like that. And so what you do is you go to the parents and you say, hey, how can I want to be a part of your life. I want to be a part of, the children's lives. How can I help? What does that look like to you? Like my idea of being a grandparent is this. What does that look like for you? What would work for you? How can I support you? How can I help you? How can I be involved without getting in your way?
Yeah.
And I think that too few families talk about those things openly. We all have our expectations, right? But we need to share those with the person we're expecting
they can't read our
those
minds.
Things up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to have those conversations right up front it's a huge gift for all of you.
For sure. And kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, having those conversations as early as possible, like even before baby arrives, like, what's your expectation on how much I help? Like, do you want me to come over when the baby is an hour old, or do you want me to wait a few days? Like having those conversations before birth I can't stress enough how important that is.
Absolutely. And that, that's why I put together a guide for grandparents called New Grandparent Essentials. And one part of it is partnering with parents, and it provides questions to ask before that baby even comes, so that you are on the same page about the really important things.
Amazing. I will link that in the show notes because I think that's such a helpful thing, especially for people who, the communication with parents or in-laws can be tricky sometimes because there's so much history there, so much tension sometimes, and having a guide can be really helpful, I think.
Yeah, I like to tell parents that it's something that you can buy and give to grandparents when you are expecting a baby. It is not something that's going to come across as an insult to them or that you're doubting them. It's got, information on modern baby care and safety, and it's got information on parenting trends, and it's got a whole section for them to figure out what kind of grandparent they want to be. So it's a great thing to give to your parents when you are expecting, because it just kind of gets you all on the same page from the start.
I love that. That's so perfect. And I'm sure that helps so many families get that ball rolling. Something that I'm thinking about as we're talking about like expectations, something that comes up with our family, not so much anymore because we now have a very clear system, but holidays. Mm-hmm. I think that there are so many expectations around whose family is going to have the baby for the holiday, like who gets baby's first Christmas, all of that kind of thing. How do you suggest parents navigate those tricky conversations? Because there's always going to be so much disappointment from one side, right?
Absolutely. And it's just something you have to be upfront with from the start. It's like, listen, here's what we are going to do. We're going to spend Thanksgiving with you guys and Christmas with them. And then next year we'll swap.
Yep,
and then the third year, we're doing both of them at home because we need a break,
and love that.
Or whatever, whatever works for your family, right? Mm-hmm. And you just have to make it clear that nobody is more important than anybody else. Mm-hmm. You can't all be there for everything. Maybe you can. I mean, if you're lucky enough to be able to have Christmas at your house and have your parents and your in-laws over, wonderful. But it's not the reality for most people. So you just have to be really clear about what's going to work for you and understand that grandparents may not be happy with that, right?
Yeah.
Ask
you have
them
to almost be okay with them being disappointed. You have to just accept that those are their feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And, to talk to them, what can we do instead? Like, okay, we can't all be together on Christmas, but do you think we could get together in January and have a redo so that you can get those pictures or whatever it is that this is important to them?
Yeah.
And I think that's something to dial into too. Like, what is important to you about having this holiday with this child? So that they can kind of think that through as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Sometimes what we do, like if we're not going to be with my in-laws for the holidays, we will like do a trip in January or February where we like go away for a few days. Because really, when you get to the bottom of it, what they want is just like that time together, right? Like
right.
Christmas and like the opening presents and stuff like that is cute and sweet, but that only lasts like an hour tops. So,
exactly.
There are definitely creative ways to make sure everybody gets what they want, at least, every other year or something. Okay, so that's great advice for the parents. Just like be open about your plans and your communication and try to make sure that, people get their needs met in other ways as best you can while raising little kids, right? Like they are your top priority, not your parents. But then for the grandparents who might be listening, maybe their, kids sent them this episode and they're listening to it. So what would you tell them to keep in mind about holiday time? And, I think a lot of us deal with like that kind of jealousy with in-laws and parents and like who gets more time, who gets these special days. How do you recommend dealing with that?
So I always say that you should not worry about everybody else's relationship with your grandchild. You should worry about yours. So stop fixating on what somebody else is getting and just do what you can to make the relationship you have with them, however that looks, be the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And as far as, holidays and one thing that my family's done, because the bottom line is, you're right, you just want to be together, right? You just want to spend that time together. We've designated the 4th of July as the time that our nuclear, me and my husband and our kids get together because it's less, there's less going on. It's during a school break. It just is a holiday that we have made our family holiday. And that way, whatever happens on Christmas, whatever happens on, Thanksgiving or whatever else, we know that we're probably going to have everybody together in the summer. Does it always work? No. Obviously, but
right. No, I love that because I think Christmas gets all of the glory, but there's Easter, there's 4th of July, there's Thanksgiving, there's other special times and special days throughout the year that you can just do big and make it like your family holiday. I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about unsolicited advice. We'll be right back.
Summer is here, and one thing I definitely don't want to be doing and don't have the time to be doing is cooking over a hot stove for hours and hours every single night. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-created, dietitian-approved meals are ready to eat in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating really well. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any lifestyle for summer and beyond. They've got 45 weekly menu options, and you can pick gourmet tasting meals that fit your summer gains and goals. You can choose from options like Protein Plus, Keto, Calorie Smart, and more, and it'll power you from sunup to sundown because it's so nutritious, filling, and honestly really delicious. We absolutely love our Factor meals. We always get so excited when our box arrives. I don't know how they do it, but everything that we've tried is so yummy. It tastes like you're eating food from a restaurant. Even the steak. I seriously don't know how they make it so tender, but it is delicious. And my husband also always loves the shrimp dishes. So you can get started at factormeals.com/no-one-told-us-50-off and use code no-one-told-us-50-off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code no-one-told-us-50-off at factormeals.com/no-one-told-us-50-off to get 50% off plus free shipping.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Okay, Deedee, this is probably the hottest topic when it comes to our relationships with our parents and our in-laws, and that is the unsolicited advice. And again, I always want to give the benefit of the doubt. I always want to assume best intentions. I really do think when our parents or our in-laws give us advice or tell us how they did things, I really do think they're trying to help for the most part. They're trying to just impart their wisdom and get involved. I do think they have the best of intentions, but sometimes it does come across as being overbearing or controlling. We might feel like they don't trust that I can do this. They don't trust that I'm making the best decisions. I'm so overwhelmed already. I don't need more advice or more opinions. What do you have to say about this? This must come up all the time.
Oh, it does. Of course it does. Here's what I have to say about it. First of all, you have to remember that when we were parenting, and now I had two of my kids were born in the late 1980s, and two of them were born in the late 1990s. Mm-hmm. So parenting between the 80s and 90s was very different. By the time I had my third child, I was part of an internet group of moms that were expecting babies in August. I mean, wow. I was exposed to so much more information than I was with the first two. I think for most grandparents, my experience with my first two kids is more typical. When I needed advice, I went to my pediatrician or my mom.
Yep.
Or just followed my instincts, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's what we had available to us. We had a couple of books, but we didn't have the wealth of information that parents today do.
Right.
I mean, I would argue that parents today have too much input.
Too much. Way too much. You're absolutely right. It's overwhelming. Absolutely.
So we're coming from a place where grandparents' advice was valued mm-hmm. and sought. Mm-hmm. And so to have parents today discount everything we say and not want any advice from us, even if we don't realize that that's what's happening, it's a big shift. I mean, there has been a huge shift in how parents get information since we were parents. And it's really hard for most grandparents to accept that parents are getting way better advice on the internet. Now, for parents, I will say this. Grandparents often really do have good advice. I mean, yes, things have changed a lot. We have so much more research on brain development and nutrition and things like that. But babies have not changed.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
We actually did figure out a lot of things, along the way.
And you had to figure it out by trial and error. Like that's even harder.
Right.
Yeah.
We could have something valuable to say. So it's there are two sides to that for sure. I do think that for parents, one of the best things you can do is share with grandparents where you are getting your advice.
Mm-hmm.
Share the websites, the social media accounts, whatever it is, whoever it is that you're taking advice from, share that with the grandparents so that they know where you're coming from.
That's a great idea. I have some grandparents that follow me. It is really nice because I think then they're getting, like you said, they're all on the same page. They're all getting the same information and they can kind of understand the context of what they're saying rather than just like this crazy idea that they've never heard of before from who knows. The other thing I was going to say is I think sometimes while you were talking, I was just kind of trying to put myself in your position and I was thinking like, wow, like when my girls and my son, when they grow up and they have kids, like if they don't ask me for advice, I feel like I'll be devastated. Like that would feel so hurtful to me for them to just brush off everything I say. And I guess I would try to hold my tongue and not make them feel bad about that, but it really would sting. So I'm wondering if it might be a good idea for us as the parents in the situation to maybe go to our parents or our in-laws for those kind of like low stakes things, to ask them advice for things that, not that they don't matter, but like say I have a really specific idea on how I want to handle sleep and I know that me and my mom don't agree. I'm not going to talk to her about sleep probably because it's just going to bring up a fraught conversation, but maybe I could ask her about something else. Like, oh, how did you used to like travel with me? Like, what did you bring to keep me entertained? What worked?
Right.
Or something like that, where it's like that she feels like she's getting involved. She feels like I'm coming to her and asking her for something, but whatever she tells me, it's not going to ruffle my feathers, right? It's not going to be something that's so, I don't know. I feel like there are just certain topics that can be very emotionally charged, like sleep and feeding in particular.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good idea. I think parents should come to grandparents and ask for advice on things. I mean, if you're the one coming and asking for advice on something, then you're going to be open to that advice and it's going to make the grandparent feel good. I mean, these are still your parents. They still want to be important to you, right?
Right, of course. And we want them to feel that way.
Absolutely. I think another thing that parents should keep in mind is that there really is no perfect way to raise a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're getting so much advice about how this is the right way to do it. No, this is the right way to do that. Wait, this is the right way to do it. I'll tell you right now, there is no right way. You just do the best you can and they turn out fine 90% of the time, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even just among my own kids, the same things don't work for each one of them. So, yeah, they're all so different. They all need something a little bit different. So then I guess what would your advice be to the grandparents on how to kind of navigate wanting to be helpful, feeling like you do have something really insightful to share and not wanting it to come across in a way that feels judgy? And I think that's kind of the key is like most of us are receptive to advice or for you to share. It's just sometimes I think people struggle with the delivery or the timing or the tone, right? It's like, it's all of, none of the words necessarily. It's all of like the subtext.
Absolutely. And I think that that's one thing that's really crucial in any conversation. Pick the time, right?
Yeah,
Find a time when you're not going to tell your daughter-in-law that she shouldn't be doing that as she's doing it, right?
Right. Like she's breastfeeding the baby. Please don't tell her to go away or cover up or to wean or whatever. Right. So I think that, timing is everything. You're right. The tone of voice and then just how you say it, right? Hey, it sounds like you're having trouble with X. When I was a mom, I tried this and it, was really useful. I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in knowing more about or not, but I thought I'd offer that. So I love that. Or even just saying like, hey, I know you were asking about this. Like, I have a couple ideas if you would want them. Like even just asking, like, can I give you some advice?
Right, exactly. And most of the time, they may say no, and that's fine. So I think you're right that, offering to share some information, but then you've got to be okay with them saying no, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And also maybe just knowing that it's not always personal. Like it's not that I think you don't know what you're talking about. It's not that I don't respect your opinion. It's like you said, we are already getting so many messages, so much information online from friends, from our doctors. Like we are so overloaded with advice as it is. So sometimes it's really not, I don't want to hear what you did, Mom. Like, I don't care. I think you're dumb. But it's like, right. I can't handle one more piece of information about this.
Right.
And like, I just need to not think about it anymore. So also just giving some grace to your daughter, your daughter-in-law, whoever, and knowing that sometimes it's really not about you. It's just that they're already at their limit and they're already just overwhelmed.
And that's so true. And I think the other thing that grandparents need to remember is that parents are overwhelmed
in general
all the time.
Yeah.
So they're going to say things, they're going to make facial expressions that are not very polite. But it's not, you're right. It's not personal. It's nothing against you. It's just because they just can't handle one more small annoyance in their day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And once we're out of like the little kid stage, we'll apologize and say, I'm so sorry that I'm so sorry that I flipped out about that one thing, but like I was just at my limit. This has been such a helpful conversation, Deedee. I hope that parents and grandparents alike will listen to it and have some great takeaways. Where can people learn more about this, find you, find your resources, and connect with you?
My website is morethangrand.com. And I am at More Than Grand on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all the places. So
you're amazing.
I'd love people to come find me and follow along.
Amazing. My last question before I let you go is, what is one thing that no one told you before you became a parent or a grandparent that you wish you had known about?
I just wish I had known that every child is so different.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I thought I was just the most amazing mom with my first, and then I got my second, and I realized it had nothing to do with me and everything to do with my son. So,
oh my gosh, how funny. Yeah, that's such a good one. That's so true. I had the opposite experience. My first was so hard that I just thought I was like the worst mom ever, and then my second came along and was just an angel, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I
can do this.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
You want the best for your child. K-12 can help them gain the skills they need to reach their full potential while giving you the support you need to get them there. K-12-powered schools are tuition-free, accredited online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their state-certified teachers make online learning interactive and engaging, allowing your child to learn at their pace from the safety of home. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.